guys. Today we're doing episode 2 of the Star Wars Lore ASMR series, and this episode will be on Boba and Jango Fett. So you guys seem to enjoy episode 1, which was great because I loved making it. So I think this will definitely become a long-term series on the channel. And I thought quite a bit about what to do for episode 2. And I decided on Jango and Boba because, as I'm sure most of you know, the Book of Boba Fett comes out in just a few days. So I thought that, doing the lore on Jango and Boba would be a great way for us to catch up on all things Fett before the show starts. So anyways, before we begin, just a few general disclaimers. This series has spoilers from just about any Star Wars media, including movies, TV shows, books, comics, games, encyclopedias, pretty much anything you could think of. So if you're holding out on any piece of Star Wars material that you don't want spoilers for, I'd recommend clicking away. And the other thing is, this series for now is going to be canon only. So there's lots of material on the Fetts in Legends, but for now it's just canon. So with that, let's get started. As you can see, I have all sorts of Fett type collectibles around that we'll be making sounds with throughout the episode. So I have the Vintage Collection Slave 1. I have 2 Vintage Collection figures, Boba and Mando. I have the 30th Anniversary Django, Han Solo and Carbonite, the Black Series Boba Fett helmet, and a custom-made Boba Fett shoulder pauldron. So anyways, we're gonna do one item at a time here. So let me move some stuff out of the way to make room. There we go, and we'll of course be starting with Jango. So this is the 30th Anniversary Collection Jango, and it's a very unique action figure in the sense it's almost like a dress-up figure in a way. It comes with armor pieces that you can, put on. So I thought that maybe it'd be neat to, while I'm talking, kind of put on his armor and take it off, and sort of as a visual ASMR trigger, and also do some, I don't know if that's a pleasant noise, but some action figure noises. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started here. We have to pop his head off to get the armor plate on. So I will say that there's some conflicting information on Jango's backstory between, sources like the Clone Wars, the Mandalorian, and even George Lucas himself. So there's not a great single source. So I've sort of put together all of the canon information that I can and given my interpretation. But, if you disagree, definitely let me know in the comments down below. And I'm interested to hear what everyone else thinks, so. Anyways, there's no exact date in canon given for Jango Fett's birth, but based on his involvement in the Mandalorian Civil War and his appearance in Attack of the Clones, I would estimate his birth to be around 65 BBY. He was born on the planet Concord Dawn, and from there's actually not a whole lot of information on his early life and sort of backstory. Jango is not a Mandalorian by birth, but rather was a foundling, meaning that he was adopted by Mandalorians. His mentor trained him to be a Mandalorian warrior, and he fought in the Mandalorian Civil War around 42 BBY. So basically, in the Mandalorian Civil War, the peace-seeking new Mandalorians fought against the martial traditionalists of Mandalore to attempt to get rid of the constant warrior-like ways of Mandalore that had, ravaged the planet. So the new Mandalorians did end up winning and pushed the traditionalists to the moon of Concordia. This is probably why Prime Minister Almec in the Clone Wars tells Obi-Wan that, Jango Fett is nothing but a common bounty hunter, and he doesn't know how he got the armor, because, the new Mandalorians are trying to distance themselves from the warrior past, and, the Mandalorian warriors and whatnot. So anyways, following the Mandalorian Civil War, Jango decided to go his own way and pursue a career in bounty hunting. He would go on to become one of the most skilled bounty hunters of his time, like his son would eventually as well. Let me throw on his helmet here. So there's the figure. All dressed up. I don't know why. I wish it came with gauntlets. That's the only thing it's missing, but still kind of a cool figure. But anyways, at some point, Jango stole a fire spray 31 class patrol and attack craft that was guarding the prison moon of Uvu 4. This would become his famous ship, Slave One. So that seems like a good transition point to bring out Slave One. Let's set Jango aside here. So this is the vintage collection Slave One. It's definitely an awesome piece to have in your collection. I actually got it recently and unboxed it specifically for this video. I haven't done another specific video on it, but I think I will soon because it's definitely awesome. And it does come with a stand, so you can stand it straight up like that, but you guys can't see it, so I'll keep it laid down, and I'll definitely do a video on this sometime in the next month or so. But anyways, Jango steals the fire spray 31 and makes it Slave One. Didn't yet have these colors, but it's the same ship. Around the time of episode 1 in 32 BBY, itself. Additionally, he would stick around Camino and help train the clones as they grew. Django would raise the unaltered clone, which he named Boba, as his son. It's also worth noting that all the other clones had growth acceleration, so they would be ready to fight 10 years later in 22 BBY. But Boba was still a young boy at the time. Like a real 10-year-old boy, you know. There also was another clone of Jango that didn't have the aging modification named Omega, but to our knowledge she didn't interact with Jango at all, and she was just a project of the Kaminoans. So Jango continued to take jobs while employed by the Kaminoans, and even began training Boba up in bounty hunting. In one mission, Jango and Boba were working with 3 other bounty hunters to retrieve a Twilight girl who had run away. Upon completing the mission, 2 of the bounty hunters betrayed them, but Boba was able to kill them both with a concealed blaster. Even at such a young age, Boba was already building his reputation as a skilled bounty hunter. Jango worked with Sam Wessel several times, the last of which was an attempt at assassinating Padme, a job from Dooku at the request of Newt Gunray. You can see there's the seismic charges. Sam ended up failing because Obi-Wan and Anakin intervened, and Jango killed her from a distance with a Kaminoan saber dart before she could reveal anything. Obi-Wan did track Jango back to Camino, though, where he discovered the clone army nearly complete, and and Jango and Kenobi met in Boca City on Camino. Obi-Wan questioned Jango, but didn't get any new information except that he was recruited by a man named Tyrannus, who Obi-Wan knew nothing of. Also in this scene, Jango and Boba speak to each other in Fett code, and we find out that they have their own language that they can communicate to each other in. Jango and Boba leave, but Kenobi catches them at the landing pad, and Jango and Obi-Wan fight briefly. Jango escapes, but Obi-Wan manages to get a tracker on Slave One. Kenobi follows Jango and Boba to Geonosis, and after using his seismic charges, which create one of the best noises in all of Star Wars, Jango believes that he destroys Kenobi's ship. On Geonosis, Jango captures Anakin and Padme, and Kenobi is captured by the Separatists. All 3 are brought into an arena on Geonosis, but are saved when other Jedi, and eventually the clones and Yoda, arrive. is able to close the gap easily and decapitates Django in front of Boba. So, sorry, Jango. Was that too dark? I hope not. After the dust settles, Boba is seen mourning his father's death with his helmet in his hands. And it's not immediately clear to me if Jango's head was still inside the helmet. I've always thought that was like a little weird. Did the head fall out? Did Boba take the head out before holding the helmet, or was the head still inside while Boba was holding it? Who can say? Anyways, after the battle at Geonosis, Boba joined with Aura Singh, another bounty hunter that Jango knew well and worked with. Bosk, the Trandoshan that we see in Empire Strikes Back, and Castus, unknown him at the time, an attempt to get revenge on Mace Windu. And, since they're bounty hunters, also get paid by the Separatists for killing him in the process. Boba poses as a clone cadet. And, keep in mind, he's actually twice their age and the same age as all the adult clones. To get on the Venator Endurance. And he attempted to assassinate Windu with a small tripwire bomb, but a clone ends up triggering it instead, and Mace lives. Boba then causes the entire ship to crash. And escapes in an escape pod and is rescued by Singh. The Venator crashes on Vancor, and the group of hunters set up another trap for Mace using an explosive in what looks like Jango's helmet. But that was also unsuccessful. So let me set aside Slave 1 for now. Like I said, it's pretty awesome. I'll definitely have to do a video on it sometime. But for now, let's put it away. And let's take out the helmet, since we were just talking about that. So this is the Black Series. Boba Fett helmet. I haven't gotten the re-armored one yet. I was just about to buy it on Amazon and then it went out of stock, so I'll have to get it sometime, but for now I still have the old one. The Empire Strikes Back version. And this has an LED and light up feature. But anyways, like I was saying, Boba tries to set a trap to kill Mace using an explosive in the helmet, but that's also unsuccessful in killing him. It's unclear to me if, because the helmet is destroyed in that episode of the Clone Wars, and it's unclear to me if that was Jango's actual helmet that was destroyed and Boba gets, an entirely new one for his armor. If that was just another helmet that happened to look like Jango's but wasn't actually his, or, maybe Jango has multiple helmets and Boba only blew up one of them. It's not super clear to me. All three of those seem plausible, so a helmet that looked like Jango's was used as an explosive. boys, Mace and Anakin, are trapped under debris from the explosion, and R2 goes to get help in Mace's ship. Boba and the gang think that, Mace is in his ship and escaping, so they leave the planet as well, and plan to set a trap with the prisoners from the Endurance. Aura and Boba send a transmission to the Jedi that they have their prisoners, hoping to draw out Mace. Aura tells Boba to shoot Commander Pons, but he cannot, so she does it herself. The gang arrives on Florum. Castus betrays the group by giving information to another hunter, so Aura shoots him. And Plo Koon and Ahsoka manage to pick up the trail from Castus. Boba is eventually convinced by Hondo and the Jedi to give up the location of the hostages. Aura Singh attempts to flee in Slave One, but Ahsoka causes it to crash. Singh is presumed dead, and Slave One is presumed destroyed, but of course, both were incorrect. Boba and Bosk were captured and imprisoned by the Republic on Coruscant. And at the end of the arc, Boba says to Mace, "I see now, I've done terrible things. But you started this all when you murdered my father. I'll never forgive you." While in prison, Boba and Bosk were paid by Cat Bane to start a prison riot to allow Kenobi, disguised as Rico Hardeen, Bane, and Moralo evolved to escape. During this riot, maybe when Boba escaped from prison, it isn't actually stated. But regardless, he does get out somehow. Still during the Clone Wars, Boba formed the Great's Claw on Tatooine, a bounty hunter syndicate. This consisted of some familiar faces like Bosk and Dengar, and some new people like Lad Trazi, Heisinger, and Oked. Also, it's worth noting that during this time, Boba still had not donned his father's armor and was wearing sort of a black, gray, and red outfit. The Great's Claw undertook a mission to deliver a chest to Otua Blank, the Belugan leader, via an underground train. Ventress, no longer a Sith, joined the team to replace Oked, who, she killed anyway, so it was only fair. The train was attacked, and after some fighting, it was revealed the contents of the chest was a girl being stolen from her people and forced to marry the leader against her will, and the attackers were her people trying to recover her. Ventress, who had also been stolen as a child, sympathized with the girl and betrayed Boba, putting him in the chest instead, allowing the girl to go free and still managing to recover the bounty. Despite this humiliation at the hands of Ventress, Boba still remained the leader of Great's Claw, which kind of spoke to his skills and reputation as a bounty hunter. at such a young age. The final mission that Great's Claw undertook was an attempted rescue on Sereno, Dooku's homeworld. Quinlan Voss was sent on a mission by the Jedi to assassinate Dooku, so he enlisted the help of Ventress. And after working together for a bit, she agreed to train him in the ways of the dark side. They attempted to defeat Dooku together but failed, so Ventress paid Great's Claw 250,000 credits to rescue Voss. However, Dooku defeated the bounty hunters on Sereno, and Great's Claw disbanded. After the Clone Wars, Boba Fett grew his bounty hunting skills under the mentorship of Cad Bane and Hondo Inaka. He also took back possession of Slave One, which Hondo repaired and painted green. So that's the main job we see here. Boba's reputation continued to grow as he became known as one of the best hunters in the game, and at some point he assumed his father's armor, repainting it and refurbishing it. So let's well, this is of course the helmet he wore, but let's switch to the vintage collection figure, which shows his whole getup. The Empire Strikes Back version. This card is unfortunately quite beat up, so I might actually take this out, because it doesn't look great on the shelf with kind of like a wrinkled and destroyed card, but anyways, his reputation continued to grow, and he finally donned the armor. Also, one of his sort of MOs, or, signatures, was disintegrating his opponents. Of course, we didn't have to bring them back alive. Hence why, in Empire Strikes Back, Vader says no disintegrations. Boba also became a go-to mercenary and bounty hunter for Jabba the Hutt, completing various jobs on Tatooine, as well as many other planets for him. At some point, between, when he donned the armor after the Clone Wars and A New Hope, Fett took a job with other bounty hunters, including Bosk, Valence, and Valence's mentor, Nakano Lash. Lash betrayed the other hunters and killed their client, which both damaged Boba's reputation and created a strong hatred for Lash with Boba. More on that later. Also, kind of a minor detail, but Boba was actually present on Tatooine when he found out about the runaway droids, aka C-3PO and R2-D2, and attempted to collect the bounty on them. He ended up actually at Luke's Luke's homestead and found it had been destroyed, along with the bodies, and figured out that a third person had left with the droids. But, obviously, ultimately, he wasn't a big part of Episode 4. Boba was also present in Mos Eisley when Jabba confronted Solo about the money. And, that's also why Boba would eventually track him down. After the Battle of Yavin, so after the events of Episode 4, Vader went to Tatooine and requested Jabba's best hunters for a job. So Jabba sent Boba and a Wookiee named Black Chrysanthemum. Vader's mission for Boba was to track down a rebel pilot associated with Obi-Wan Kenobi and the Millennium Falcon. Boba acquired the name of the pilot in Mos Eisley through brute force, interrogation, and ruthlessness, who he identified as Luke Skywalker. Boba went to Kenobi's old hut, where he lied in wait and ambushed Luke. After a tough fight, Fett almost won, blinding Luke and pushing his lightsaber towards his own face. However, a box with "For Luke" written on it flew across the room and hit Boba on the head, knocking him unconscious. And remember, this is before Episode 5, when Luke figured out he could move things with the Force. Boba reported back to Vader with the information that the pilot was Luke Skywalker, confirming that Darth Vader has a son. Sometime later, after the rebels escaped from the Empire's attack on Hoth, Boba and 5 other hunters, old allies such as Dengar and Bosk, and some unknown faces such as Forlom, Zuckuss, and IG-88, all gathered on board the Executor to be given a bounty. The Millennium Falcon and its crew. Fett had a hunch that Solo would try to hide instead of run, so he went back to the ISD Avenger, claiming Slave One had a coolant leak and needed to dock. From the novel, from a certain point of view, we learn that a waste disposal tech assigned to handle the leak discovered the Falcon attached to the ship's hull at the same time as Fett. But Boba dispatched him so he would not interfere with his plans. Boba saw the Falcon depart and determined they were going to Cloud City. So he and the Empire got their head of the damaged Falcon to set up a trap. The Empire manipulated Lando Calrissian into betraying Solo and Leia, and they were captured and used as bait for Luke, despite Fett's worry of risky technology and losing the bounty. Vader freezes Solo in carbonite to test it ahead of time for Luke. Luckily for Fett, trying to collect the bounty for Jabba to bring back Solo. Solo survived the carbon freezing process. So with that, let's take out Han in the carbonite block. This is actually from the Vintage Collection Slave one. It comes with it. So that's a neat addition. I'm really happy I bought that thing, if you can't tell. But anyways, Fett took the frozen Solo away and was pursued by Lando, Leia, and Chewie in an attempt to free him. But they failed, and Boba was able to leave Cloud City in Slave One. Boba did not actually head straight back to Tatooine to deliver Solo to Jabba, as you might think from the movies. His delivery of Solo back to Jabba is actually a very long and arduous journey. For starters, the person I mentioned before, Lash, that betrayed him, resurfaced, and Boba stopped to attack her, and was successful and left her for dead. Her apprentice Valence did try to save her, but Boba was able to non-fatally subdue him, so the next part of Boba's journey to deliver Solo to Jabba is the plot of an entire comic series called War of the Bounty Hunters that actually came out from May to November of this year, 2021, for those watching in the future. On the way back to Tatooine, the carbonite block had its alarm go off, and stains began to appear on the surface. So, Boba brought the Solo to Doc Ragoon on Nar Shaddaa, who's at the carbonite with an organic being inside. It began to become unstable. The Doc agreed to fix it if Boba completed a job for him. After the job, Boba found the Doc dead, and Solo, encased in carbonite, had been stolen. Additionally, Bib Fortuna contacted Boba and told him that Jabba is growing impatient. Zuckuss and Forlom, two of the bounty hunters from the Empire Strikes Back executor scene, attacked Boba on his ship. Boba is actually able to kill both of them, and finds out from Forlom's droid head that Jabba actually placed the bounty on Boba. So Boba returns to Tatooine, confronts Fortuna, and finds out that Jabba thought that Boba had sold Solo. Jabba had left for an auction where Solo was being sold in order to purchase him back. Not for any particular switch to the shoulder pauldron. This is actually custom. Made for my Boba Fett ASMR roleplay. I think it looks decent for our first real attempt at, cosplay and costuming. But we'll definitely have to make it again sometime. And, of course, it has the mythosaur on it. The, Mandalorian symbol. So anyways, like I was saying, Jabba, found out that Solo was being sold. So he assumed that Boba sold him to an auction, and Jabba went to go buy him himself and put a bounty on Boba's head. So Boba heads to the auction and finds out that the Crimson Dawn Syndicate has returned. He's also confronted by Bosk, trying to collect the bounty on his head, but he manages to blow off his legs and leave him as a warning to other hunters trying to collect the bounty. So that's another ESP bounty hunter dead. Lots of people are present at the auction and are trying to get Solo, including even Leia and Chewie. At the end of the day, Jabba buys Solo, but in typical Vader fashion, Vader just takes him anyways. Again, as sort of a bait to try to get Luke Skywalker. Now this time, Dengar and Valens attack Fett. Dengar is subdued, and Valens and Fett agree to a temporary alliance. The two manage to get aboard the Executor, which then comes under the attack of a fleet of Hutt ships trying to get Solo. While on board the Executor, Boba betrays and kills Valens. Once Boba finally finds Solo in Carbonite, he also encounters Leia and Chewie again, but a Hutt ship blows a hole in the Executor, sucking Han's Carbonite block out into space. Boba flies out after it, and eventually is able to fish it out of the sea of the planet below. Finally, Boba returns Solo to Jabba, and Jabba removes the bounty on his head. And, Boba and Jabba are on good terms again. So I thought War of the Bounty Hunters was pretty crazy because, Boba basically kills all of the Empire Strikes Back bounty hunter lineup on the Executor. Kind of showing that he really is the best of the best. Sometime later, Leia is captured by Jabba while attempting to free Han in Jabba's palace. And Luke eventually joins as well and allows himself to be captured. Jabba takes all three, along with his entourage, including Boba, to the great pit of Carcoon for their execution. Luke frees himself, and R2 launches him his lightsaber, and Leia manages to kill Jabba. Luke then cuts Boba's blaster in half, and Solo strikes his jetpack with a vibro axe, causing it to malfunction and sending him into the Sarlacc pit, where he is presumed dead. Also worth noting that both Boba and Jango had fatal or near-fatal experiences caused by their malfunctioning jetpacks. I thought that was kind of funny, like father, like son. Anyways, through means that we don't know yet, Boba does survive the Sarlacc pit, but his armor was taken by Jawas and eventually acquired by Cobb Vanth. Sometime later, Boba Fett saves Fennec Shan's life on Tatooine, and the two become partners. Din Djarin, also known as the Mandalorian, acquires Boba Fett's armor from Cobb Vanth as a reward for killing the Great Dragon. So, now that we're sort of into Mando territory, I thought it would be fitting to show the Mandalorian Vintage Collection figure. So anyways, this is the Mandalorian Deluxe Build-Up Pack with Grogu and some Beskar, and I don't know why they hide it, but you can see there is actually a head sculpt back there. They hide it behind this sticker, which I think is kind of silly. I'll have to open this sometime soon. I do like the way it looks in the box, but I think I'll go ahead and open it. Anyway, so Din acquires Boba's armor, and Boba and Fennec track Din to Tython, where Boba attempts to make a deal. He'll protect Grogu in exchange for getting his armor back. Din is very reluctant and says, you know, the armor doesn't belong to Boba since it's Mandalorian. But, you know, before the conversation can finish, they're interrupted by an Imperial attack. During the fight, Boba goes into the Razor Crest, dons the armor, and continues to battle the stormtroopers. Eventually, Grogu is taken by the Dark Troopers, and after they leave, Din confronts Boba. Boba shows his chain code and how the armor belonged to his father, a foundling. Din Djarin agrees, and Boba and Fennec go with Din because they said they would help protect Grogu in exchange for the armor. Din, Boba, and Fennec all leave on Slave One since the Razor Crest was destroyed. And on the journey, Boba restores his chipped and worn armor with a new coat of paint. Unfortunately, the Black Series and Vintage Collection Boba Re-Armor has not yet been released, but it did get announced recently. Anyways, they head to Morak to find information and end up working with Mayfield. After the mission, Boba extracts them in Slave One, and once again, we get to see the seismic charges for like the first time again in 20 years, this time destroying TIE fighters. Afterwards, Boba and Din go to Lafette to recruit Bo-Katan Kryze and Casca Reeves, 2 Mandalorians. Kryze and Reeves recognize Boba's voice as a clone and say that he is not a Mandalorian and is a disgrace to his armor. And after a brief fight breaks out, Kryze declares that they will help reclaim Grogu from Moff Gideon. Kryze piloted a stolen Imperial ship to Gideon's cruiser, where Boba Fett feigned attacking in Slave One to allow the team entrance to the cruiser. Fett destroys several TIEs before jumping away to hyperspace, leaving Din and the gang to do their work and rescue Grogu. And, good thing, because Luke shows up at the end and it might be awkward to see, the guy that was partially responsible for sending you into a Sarlacc pit. Anyways, in the post-credit scene of The Mandalorian Season 2, we see Boba Fett and Fennec Shand return to Jabba's palace on Tatooine. Boba shoots Bib Fortuna without saying a word, throws his corpse off the seat, and assumes the seat on the throne, with Fennec at his side. And, that's all the canon information we have to date. And that's where we're starting Book of Boba Fett. With, Boba assuming the throne in Jabba's, or should I say formerly Jabba's palace. So, very excited to see where the Book of Boba Fett takes his journey. So, make sure you guys watch Wednesday the 29th. And, hopefully, this was a good refresher for all things Boba Fett to get you ready for the show. So, there it is, guys. I also had a ton of fun making this one. I think I'm going to try to make, one lore episode a month. But I definitely see this series continuing for the foreseeable future. So, anyways, that being said, there is the story of the Fetts. I hope you guys have enjoyed. Thanks for watching.